Very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Wednesday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. Before we continue with the video, hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. It would be very much appreciated indeed. This is the current latest, same thing, visible satellite image over Western Europe, and you can see we have got the largely decent conditions across eastern parts of the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, western areas of the UK here, so southwest England, up through the majority of Wales, northern England, and the majority of Scotland away from the northwest. As well as that, we do have quite a large area of cloud cover encompassing the Midlands and the south of the UK here. Underneath that, we do have outbreaks of rain. If we look at the Weather Online radar, you can see that we have got a little bit of rain to speak about. Really not that much at all, actually, to speak about, but nonetheless, under leaden skies, the temperatures are a good bit cooler than they have been in recent days. Bear in mind that back on Monday, we did in fact hit 34.8 Celsius, the hottest day in 2 years for the UK. But in the sunshine, feeling not too bad, upper teens to low 20s, 25 Celsius appears to be what's been achieved across parts of East Anglia and the southeast corner of the UK. But there's a lot of things to get through today because we do have a couple of features to talk about over the next 24 48 hours. Then we also have the situation with regards to Tropical Storm Ernesto. That is expected to have some sort of impact later next week. Long way out, I get that, but nonetheless, I'm wanting to speak about that in a little bit more detail today. But looking at some interesting things with regards to the heat across, particularly the Balkan region of Europe. This is a tweet by Milos Milik, based in Serbia, showing the exceptionally hot conditions that we've seen in recent times. And really, it has been right up there with one of the hottest, if not the hottest summer on record for the Balkans and many parts of Europe. In fact, temperatures anywhere from 38 Celsius in Croatia to as much as 41.4 Celsius in a few other spots in that southeastern corner of the continent. It has been a brutal summer, to say the least, across the southeast of the continent, and many areas, in fact, have seen some exceptional heat. These are other temperatures here. This is a tweet by Thierry Goose showing anywhere from 40.1 to 42.6 Celsius, approaching all-time records. And national all-time records, may I add, as well. So yeah, that's the heat in southeastern portions of the continent. Speaking about Belgrade and Serbia, once again, the 0 Celsius isotherm is above 4 kilometers at the 12Z sounding from Belgrade. So you have to go 4 kilometers up in the atmosphere to reach the 0 Celsius isotherm, which is pretty significant stuff, actually. This was back on Tuesday the 13th, with a maximum of around 38 to 39 in Belgrade. Tuesday the 13th, Belgrade so far has seen a summer of 2024 with 50 days above 30 and 20 days above 35 Celsius. Likely the hottest summer on record, like I've already said. Looking at a couple of other interesting things here, this was a tweet I put out just an hour or so ago showing the synoptic chart through the first 11 days of August for Western Europe. And we've had quite a strong ridge of high pressure centred over the west-southwest of the continent. Remember, June in particular, even July to an extent, was seen the trough digging further south, displaced further south over Western Europe, encompassing the majority of the UK, Ireland, and even France, and even parts of Iberia. What's happened as we've progressed through the 3 meteorological months has that ridge that's been anchored primarily over the southeast corner of Europe has essentially been drifting westwards over the southern half of the continent through the course of the summer. And now we've got this situation, we've got deep negative just to the south of Iceland. We've got quite a strong positive centred essentially over northern Spain and France, and that has been coinciding very nicely with the summer forecast. I apologise. the August outlook that I had alluded to at the end of July, where we've had the negative to the north, positive to the south, warmest, driest to the south, coolest and most unsettled the further north over the UK you go. And this is the temperature anomaly of Weatherbell for the first 14 days of August here. So you've got a slight cool anomaly here over the West Highlands, if you notice, but the majority of the UK, as well as the Republic of Ireland, is warmer than average through the first 14 days. So this is kind of coinciding, like I say, very nicely with the August outlook that I put out at the end of July. Going forward, I don't really see a huge amount of change, if I'm being quite honest with you. Low pressure continuing to dominate near Iceland, with associated frontal systems frequently pushing into the northwest, drifting southeastwards, and that is going to be the case for the next week to 10 days or so here. So the final couple of weeks of August is looking very similar to the first 14 days that we've already seen. So I think that's quite important to note. So I wanted to talk a little bit today with regards to a feature that's moving in later today and into tomorrow. So this is the black and white imagery here, the surface pressure charts for the North Atlantic, UK and Europe here. This is off the Met Office website. Quite enjoy actually looking at this chart, and it's not that long ago that I actually started to show these charts once again, these surface pressure analysis off the Met Office website. But it obviously indicates quite nicely where the fronts are associated. So today, underneath that bank of cloud, the reason for that is we've got this a little occluded frontal system stretching from the Humber all the way down towards Bristol in the southwest of the UK. Underneath this cloud cover and a good drop in temperature compared to 48 hours ago, when we've seen temperatures widely into the low 30s. We've got some relatively some light to moderate westerly winds here across the northern half of the UK, if you notice here. But it's actually this feature here. So we've got a frontal system associated with an area of low pressure over the North Atlantic, but it's actually all the way back to just southwest of Newfoundland. We've got a feature here, relatively warm air associated with this. What's going to happen is over the next 24 hours, you're going to see this feature moving in an east to northeasterly direction across the North Atlantic here. We've got a couple of frontal systems ahead of that is going to bring some shower activity during the course of tonight here. But it's as we move into the day tomorrow, we're going to see this feature here, relatively innocuous looking on the synoptic chart, may I add, but nonetheless, it's coming from a relatively warm source. It's actually moving across the Gulf Stream over the North Atlantic. And what is important about this is it's got a fair amount of moisture associated with it. So therefore, we're going to see this feature moving in and generate a fair amount of rain. Like I say, rather innocuous. Pressure, 1,011 millibars here. But this little connection here between the cold front and the warm front, you've got quite a lot of moisture associated with this. What that's going to do is it's going to move across Ireland, Northern Ireland, northwest England, southern and central Scotland, during late tonight and through the first half of Thursday, and it's going to bring some fairly wet conditions and fairly heavy and persistent rain. So the Cumbrian Fells, the southern uplands, the west side of the Central Belt, over the high ground in particular, we may pick up a quarter to as much as an inch of rain out of this feature before it clears away. That quickly clears away, and then we're left in a legacy of westerly winds once again. And this is generally the overall story. High pressure down over the Azores, Iberia, France. Low pressure, always anchored close, if not just slightly south of Iceland here. Westerly winds and frontal features moving in, bringing cloud, outbreaks of rain. That clears away, and we're back into a showery regime. And you notice here the pressure chart nicely reflects that as we move into the day on Saturday. Not looking too bad over the course of the weekend, may I add, but generally speaking, we've got some fairly wet conditions through the first half of Thursday. That clears away, and then we've got another system that moves in from the northwest, bringing the same idea: cloud, outbreaks of rain, followed by showers, brisk west and northwesterly winds here. Temperatures close to average for the time of the year. Looking at the icon model today, off the Weather Charts website. You can see here that we play through the loop. Generally a pleasant day. Temperatures generally from the upper teens in the northwest to low to mid-20s in the southeast. High pressure dominating the story. There's that frontal system associated with that low near Iceland here moving through. And then if you notice here, seen by the icon, we've got that little embedded feature, strong jet stream above this feature. So that's another reason why we may need to watch for some disruption from that rainfall. We've got that waving frontal system. We've got the jet atop of this feature itself underneath. Therefore, it enhances the lift and increases the amount of precipitable water within the atmosphere here. So playing through into the latter half of tonight, into the early hours of Wednesday morning, that frontal system associated with low pressure to the north is then bringing rain and outbreaks of rain, windy conditions to the northwest, high and dry largely across the rest of the UK as well as Ireland. Then that feature runs in across Ireland, Northern Ireland, into northwest England, southern central Scotland. And like I said, we may see upwards of 25, possibly even higher amounts, millimetres of rain falling associated with this feature. That quickly clears through during the course of Thursday. We're left with blustery showers, especially the further north you go. You've got more in the way of strong winds and cool conditions, showery conditions as well. Got this trailing weather front here that will eventually clear south into the near continent. Then we see during the course of Friday, again, a fair pinch in the isobars indicates that we've got some fairly brisk winds coming in from the west during the course of Friday. Then through into the weekend here, we've generally got a fresh westerly flow here. No real heat to speak about, but in the sunshine at this time of the year, you will see the temperatures respond quite nicely. So that's the icon version of events over the next few days here. But I wanted to show you the prospects with regards to Ernesto in the North Atlantic. This feature remains a tropical storm, but is expected to become a hurricane and possibly a major hurricane for a period of time before making an impact on Bermuda in the West North Atlantic. So this is the models here. This is the, I think this is the multi-model run, if I'm right. No, it's the GFS ensemble. So this is obviously all the GFS models collected into one run. You can see here the general spread, the general agreement has this feature running north up the western side of the Atlantic, clipping possibly Newfoundland, and then making a beeline towards the UK later next week. And this is a long way out. But what is notable about this, here's the multi-model run here. Again, the general emphasis being the same story, running kind of north-northeast, then taking a turn, possibly avoiding Nova Scotia, but then have an impact on the far east of Newfoundland, possibly the Avalon Peninsula. Hard word to say, but I'll get there. Then it moves across the North Atlantic towards the UK and Ireland. But if we look at the GFS, this is the operational initially, and you can see here this is Ernesto. Similar idea to what I've just showed you. All the models generally agree that this system then takes a turn over the North Atlantic, enhances the jet. Obviously, there's a lot of warm, moist tropical air associated with this feature, so that's going to enhance the jet stream. And then it's going to then move towards the UK and Ireland sometime later next week. Whether it has a direct impact or an indirect impact, it will have influence on the UK and Ireland weather pattern later next week. Now, if you notice here of the GFS ensemble, if we look at the upper air pattern, this is the influence that it may have on the atmosphere at 18,000 feet. So if we play through the loop, let's go back to the here and now a little bit. You can see here this feature running north, catching a trough, exiting the eastern side of North America. If you notice here, plenty of ridging anywhere from the Azores across to the south of the UK. There's the trough associated with the Icelandic low to the north here, westerly winds. So you've got the general idea. It's continuing, essentially it's just continuing to where it's been during the course of the first 11 to 14 days of the month. But notice here that as we start to move through the course of this weekend, it breaks the ridge. Notice here that the ridge is starting to congregate further west over the North Atlantic. What may happen is Ernesto, coming around the top, builds heights further west over the Atlantic towards Bermuda. Once this feature moves through, heights are going to rise over the western side of the North Atlantic. And unfortunately, in turn, it looks as if we're going to lower heights over the Northeast Atlantic in response to that shift within the mid-Atlantic. So what the changes that are taking place due to Ernesto taking that turn means that we are likely to deepen the trough between Greenland and the UK and Ireland during the second half of next week. And therefore we may lose more influence on region here. So notice here by the time we reach next Saturday, long way off, but you see the overall ideas showing the trough deepening. Now if it stays a little bit further west towards the North Atlantic, west of the UK and Ireland, we may see higher pressure extend from Iberia up towards the southeast of the UK here, but it also may deepen the trough and send us into a cooler, more showery, unsettled theme late next week and then the next weekend. This is obviously out to the 24th of August here. So it's essentially all to play for, and Ernesto is going to have big influence down the road. Now, of course, the side effects of Debbie helped bring the hottest conditions of the year and the hottest conditions of the last 2 years to the UK. This is what I said back at the end of May. The tropics, particularly in the month of August, is going to have major influence on our weather pattern. Pinpointing details back at the end of May for August, impossible. But things are playing out quite well in terms of the overall idea. June, July's played out quite well. August, we've seen the effects of Debbie generating some fairly hot conditions, to say the least, across the southeast. Still unsettled and cooler across the northwest, but obviously. But Ernesto is next in line to influence the UK and Ireland weather pattern here. So we'll watch this as we go forward. But some heavy rain in some areas over the next 24, 36 hours or so. That clears out. We're back in a westerly flow. We'll keep our eyes closely fixed on Ernesto later next week. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, hit that like button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And I will be traveling today. My wife and I are traveling back from Rio, so we will be home later tomorrow. So just to let you know that. There will hopefully be a live stream this upcoming weekend. Tropical Outlook on Saturday. The usual scheduling back this weekend to come. So plenty of reason to stick around here on the channel. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye for now.